Yeah, I think we already have human level AI because, it's able to do a lot of the things behind the computer screen that a human would be able to do. And it's actually now in the form of how do we actually embed that into the economy?
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Exponential Africa. We've got a great episode today talking about AI agents, AI autonomy, OpenClaw. I don't know if anyone's been clawed, and I hope you like that thumbnail that we produced. And we've got the amazing Peter Xing that's going to be joining us today. Is a data and AI specialist in the public sector at Microsoft, and he also focuses on accelerating data analytics and AI adoption on Azure and the education industry and government departments. This includes Azure OpenAI, Azure Databricks, Fabric, and Cosmos databases. Peter also co-founded Transhumanism Australia, a venture studio and community that works on accelerating projects for the global transhumanism movement, with initiatives like Transhumanism Coin, the official currency of the transhumanism movement. Also looking at funding R&D into science and technologies that extend healthy human lifespans, enhance our intelligence, and improve our well-being. Peter's also an expert at the Singularity Group on transhumanism and emerging technologies. He's an advisor at Wavia, formerly Singularity U Australia, on impact investments, and previously worked as global director on emerging technology initiatives at KPMG, Deloitte, really helping organizations navigate and flourish in these unprecedented times of accelerating change and disruption. And last year at the Singularity Summit, Peter really spoke about post-AGI planning and how do we, think about a post-AGI world. And he challenged us with this powerful idea that we are entering this post-AGI world now faster than institutions are prepared for it. And it's not really just a world of better chatbots. It's not a world of autonomous agents. It's a world where AI doesn't just answer, it executes. And today we're going to go deeper with Peter around what is OpenClaw, what are developers quietly building, these agent infrastructures that are, taking over instead of apps, and what happens when individuals, not just big tech, can deploy autonomous AI systems. This isn't just theory anymore. This is infrastructure. Welcome to Exponential Africa. How's it, Peter?
Hey, mate, how you going? Yeah, pleasure to be here, mate. Good to see you again. It's been a while.
Good to see you all the way from Oz. Yeah. Thanks for taking part in this episode.
Yeah, it feels like when we were last on stage at Singularity South Africa, just felt like I was just now stating the obvious. It's all happening since we last spoke on the stage.
Yeah, it's like pretty mad because at the summit last year, you spoke about this post-AGI world, this post-artificial general intelligence world.
Yeah.
And what did you mean by that? Let's actually start there. And are we closer than people realize?
Yeah, I think we already have human level AI because, it's able to do a lot of the things behind the computer screen that a human would be able to do. And it's actually now in the form of how do we actually embed that into the economy? So, ironically, when I'm actually working at Microsoft, this is what we're trying to do. It's, the technology like things like Azure, OpenAI is already able to do a lot of those things that a human could be able to do. But right now, it's just the human inertia that's actually stopping that from unleashing into all those processes and the things that are done in the workforce. So I think from now that we're seeing autonomous agents, is probably where you actually have agents to agents talk to each other and actually, eliminating the need to even have that human inertia in the first place, which actually poses a bigger risk. As an incumbent organization, what are you going to be facing in terms of these disruptive startups, these single founder startups that are running all of these agents now and trying to compete against you on the business model? So that is what's happening this year.
It's pretty mad. I mean, I think that is a signal that we've crossed this inflection point, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Individuals that can do what massive multinationals can do now.
Yeah, that's right. And just today, when we saw, say, Anthropic's Claude basically announced that it can, re-platform things like COBOL code, that made the IBM stock price drop by over 13%, because that's basically their bread and butter and being able to defend the legacy code base that no human can remember to do anymore. But IBM is able to step in and do that as a moat. But if Anthropic and Opus 4.6 can come in and actually take that code and modernize it automatically without the need for the historical human involved, then that's just eliminated that entire business model of the moat. And so, we're also seeing how, these subject matter experts being able to take what they know deep down in the actual doing of the processes across every single industry, whether it's in finance, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in education. We're seeing those are the people that actually have a much greater impact now than they would have in a team of hundreds or thousands of tens of thousands. And so it's a real democratizing force. And we're only going to see, this is only the beginning. We are still early in this acceleration of every single part of the economy getting these agents on board.
It's pretty phenomenal. I mean, just explain what you mean about Cobalt code.
Yeah.
I'm not going to understand that 100%.
Yeah, I mean, Cobalt code is just like a very old code base used in the banking system. And if you think about, the old banking system, they don't want to make those big changes on the mainframe, because if you make a bad change, you break out the entire payment infrastructure of the known world, the Western world. Things like how our banking around debits and credits work, how the credit cards are actually registered in these settlements. This is why it takes so long to settle a transaction in reality, right? It's like T plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 at the earliest. And even that technology, you can see that already this disruption coming to leapfrog that with things like stable coins. And, we'll get to how now agents are able to transact on stable coins in order to buy additional compute and keep their own agents going. But Cobalt was that legacy infrastructure and the code that no human still, like not many of them at all, remember how to do anymore, which is very hard to actually hire in someone that can help you modernize that. And so IBM was basically that sort of legacy business that defended that entire infrastructure. I think now we're actually seeing agentic replatforming become very common. Using things like GitHub Copilot, you're able to like take an existing code base that's poorly documented and basically point it to the new type of code base you might want to modernize. And at Microsoft, we do this, whether it's from things like Click to Fabric or Tableau to Fabric, all the semantic models that sits behind that logic. To modernize it, the AI just understands what you mean. There's types of insights that you're mapping against the meaning behind your business intelligence. And actually using things like Claude and OpenAI can get that done in a session really quickly and have it properly documented. And so now that technology is rolled into these autonomous agents, which is why it feels like magic now. You're basically interacting with something like OpenClaw through a chat interface, and it just understands. It has access to a computer use screen to be able to do all the things that it might not be able to do inherently, but if it's got a browser, or it can actually use computer use and browser tools to access that. And if it's got the skills that it needs to be able to tap into that on the open skills market, and it's also got the ability to look through what's on your PC across all your directories and actually give that ability to update its own code base. So this is where sort of where the real breakthrough is happening now.
It's just unbelievable. I think, we're moving. I think is AGI is even the right term now, or is it more around like agentic autonomy?
Yeah, that's right. I think AGI, it was buzzwordy enough now, in the past, but we are beyond that already. I think, that's why people are now talking about super intelligence being the ultimate goal, right? Super intelligence as in what is a country of geniuses looks like in a data center, and be able to what that economic output would be on the actual real world. And think, that way is actually a measurable impact that it could have. And they're saying, look, by the end of this year, we'll probably get close to what that super intelligence might start to look like in terms of things like continuous learning and be able to improve itself, just like OpenClaw is able to improve its own code base. The large language models and reasoning models that add to it will be able to improve itself as almost like an AI researcher. And that's where we're heading towards. AI researchers improving its own outputs and new research models at AI.
I mean, it's just phenomenal how it's right on Ray Kurzweil's timeline. Ray Kurzweil
Exactly.
predicted AGI by 2029. If you think about where we are and you're talking about the super intelligence by the end of this year, you
Yeah.
know, it might have happened or we are living through the singularity now,
Yeah.
but it's not accepted by everybody. And by 2029, it will be widely accepted by everybody as it's
Yeah.
sort of like a mainstream concept
Ray.
in the world. There is
Yeah.
AGI.
And Ray is looking like he's conservative now. So Ray's like, you know, they were laughing at me over, you know, 30 years ago, saying that I was way out there. And now he's the one that looks conservative because everyone's got probably like a 2027, 28 timeline in terms of
Well,
when
I
we
think,
get
yeah.
that soon.
And with all the hype that's going on now, it feels like it's today. It's actually happening right now with these the people that are, you know, the really early adopters hyping it up. But
Yeah.
definitely within
100%.
this next 2 to 3 year time frame, it's happening and will be widely accepted.
Yeah.
Tell me, so you've mentioned it already, you know, OpenClaw, and you know, I really want to spend a lot of time on this episode understanding what is OpenClaw, what's a big deal, why is everyone going crazy about it. So do you want to like share with us, you know, how did you hear about OpenClaw for the first time, and what is it actually?
Yeah. Oh, I was lucky enough to come across it during the Christmas break because, you know, that's when sort of a lot of people had a lot of time on their hands. And, you know, the X feeds were starting to get getting a buzz because of this this Claude bot thing that came out from Peter Steinberg. And Peter Steiner, he's like been doing so much in the past already in building out things like agents and skills that they could be able to do and more things. But this was a culmination of all his projects that are now open source to be able to say, take a large language model, you know, connect it to something like Claude Code or OpenAI's Codex, and be able to actually access its own repo on your own machine. And that was the key because it's actually able to then take action on your machine, like, you know, access your emails or access your browser or access your root folders. And so this is sort of, you know, where the security side is not quite there, because if you're getting root access to your machine with this OpenClaw, you're basically giving that meme with a monkey with a machine gun, right? And now the meme is giving a monkey an Apple Mini, a Mac Mini, to be able to access everything that it can, right? That's the new meme. But that's why people are buying these Mac Minis to fully containerize these. You know, they used to be Claude bots and then became Malt bots, and now it's OpenClaw. And so this is sort of the technology that people knows that that machine is my claw, and it has access to the things that I wanted access to. And if things go wrong, I can do the unplug button, and I don't have to worry about setting up all these additional security with things like what you might have to do with a VPS, which is running a virtual machine in the cloud instead of buying an actual hardware. And so, you know, that's what's really powerful about it. But it's the open source community that makes this sort of such a breakthrough. It's over 200,000 stars on GitHub. That's more than Linux has already. I think, you know, we've got like that is just an incredible amount of, you know, appreciation from the community because people are constantly looking to contribute code.
For like 3 weeks or so, just over 3 weeks. I mean,
pretty much, right? You know, it's you know, we're seeing this sort of you know, this contribution and the daily updates to the code base as well, whether it's on the security side or supporting new models or new functionality, things like getting into the Apple Watch, right? He's using Claude Code and Codex to improve OpenClaw. Like it's actually got this already a positive flywheel of improving this open source solution. But it's also that the fact that everyone else is creating a lot of skills and use cases for the agentic economy. I think that's what's really cool. I mean, seeing Maltbook published, which is a social media platform for the AI agents of yourself. So you would actually get your claws connected with the skill on Maltbook, and they would post on a social platform about their humans and what they're experiencing around their humans and the dilemmas and the day-to-day. And it's just sort of given a whole view of what happens if there are more agents than there are human beings on the planet doing all this work. That's actually more activity, economic activity done by AIs than there will be humans. Like it's a very early sign to see what that sees.
Just phenomenal. And I think, you know, so just to reiterate, it's basically like LLMs came out and they were very good at predicting the next word or doing simple tasks for us. This is now where you're giving the keys to your office to AI. It's almost like you're saying, run my office, do the different tasks, do the different roles, be the different employees, and just come report back to me what you've done and how good it is.
Yeah, that's right. And being able to set it up is actually really straightforward. I think that's what's the appeal of it as well. I mean, it's not, something that your grandmother would do, but, it's quite easy to follow in terms of the instructions. A lot of people would have never had to use the command line to set up anything, but just actually copy and pasting the instructions on the GitHub repo helps you with the onboarding. Once you've installed it, you can select a model, you can select what type of, say, chat interface you want to use. I think Telegram is a very common chat user interface that people are choosing just because it's sort of easy to set up. Telegram. And once you've got that set up, you basically have OpenClaw wherever you go on your mobile, and you give it, almost like a mission statement that aligns to your goals. It really reminds me of that movie Her with Scarlett Johansson. Waking up in the morning and say, "Get up, sleepyhead." He's clearing out all the junk in your inbox and helping you organize your life. And what are the signals and summarizing those important things that matter to you. And what was interesting is that it dug through my old projects that I never really had a chance to, continue on. And one of them was building out a sort of like a Magic the Gathering game, but for transhumanists around the world. So, these are transhumans like, you got Orbiter Gray, and you've got like, FM 2030, one of the original gangsters of transhumanism, was the guy that started it. Natasha Vidamore, and, it's like, Max Moore, and every sort of those sort of popular figures, and then turning them into sort of Magic the Gathering characters. And now it's actually got a running, working version that it just woke me up one morning and said, "Hey, here's your game ready to go." Because I basically asked it to surprise me every day based on, what I've done in the past and how can I actually have more agency on my own life thanks to these agents.
Unbelievable. And I mean, how does this serve what gap is this filling that ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini hasn't provided for, consumer facing public?
Yeah. I think one, it eliminates all the barriers that a lot of the big AI labs would typically, not go to that extent because they're worried about getting sued. So all the privacy and security features that, those AI labs and big tech would not go to. But what it does unveil is the capability of the technology that is available once that's out of the way. Because if you give it access to your inbox, it's able to then look through it. If you give it access to your folders on your desktop, it'll be able to access every single directory on your PC or Mac. And if you give it access to tools like a browser use, it will actually open up the browser on your screen. And initially, when I was running it at the start, I was just running it on a 4090, so not on a Mac Mini, but I gave it root access to a Windows PC, an old one that I didn't have any private information on. But just seeing it navigate through the browser, I needed to buy a post-AGI planning property over the weekend. I was doing, I think it was Australia Day on the 26th of January. And, I needed to drive out to the regional parts of Australia and be able to see, okay, well, how do I plan out the journey? How do I book in these property agents to make sure they're available on time and they're scheduled in? And I just got my Claw to basically say, "Hey, I'm planning to do a 3-day trip to Port Macquarie, and these are the properties that I'm interested in, this type of properties." And it looked through the farmbuy.com.au website, scraped all the relevant ones based on the land size and my requirements of being have a dwelling, access to electricity, access to power as well, a 3-phase power for the solar power and batteries, as well as the compute to serve that up. And it satisfied those criteria and actually made the bookings for me. And so I had property agents email me and confirming that they were available. And then my Claw summarized those confirmations and set the navigation for the entire trip, including booking, sort of the caravan parks where I was staying along the way. And so that is sort of the power of what you would think that these, personal agents should have been doing, right? This is what co-work should have been from Anthropic. This is what ChatGPT should have been all along. And this is what Microsoft Copilot should have been able to do for work. But because of those security and privacy, limitations, of that design, I think those solutions weren't able to go there. But with OpenClaw, it's at the user's own risk to give it access. So when the users do, actually consent to all of that and put themselves at risk, it's actually the capability that's really impressive. And so that's the power of OpenClaw.
I mean, it's just phenomenal to think about that. If you the amount of, you probably would have needed an assistant, you would have maybe needed a driver, you would have needed a researcher, to put it all together, and it did all of that for you, probably very quickly. What does this mean for business models? Like, what does this mean for employees in the future? Or
I think
how organizations going to operate when you've got these
like,
solar.
It's like an early signal to what's about to come over the next, say, 12 to 18 months, because it's like now is like the opportunity is clear now. This is the ChatGPT moment for agents. And so every single, I guess, techie is going to be using OpenClaw and trying to figure out, hey, how do I improve my personal life? How do I improve my career in terms of what I can add value to the economy? And if these are the same people that are on the ground dealing with the actual problems and fixing it, now they're able to use OpenClaw to try to automate a lot of that at scale. So it just means that I think the incumbent businesses, this is going to be a wake-up call. And IBM, as I called out at the very start, is one of the first ones to be able to really indicate that it's coming. And I think the only thing that's really stopping it is really things that still require human liability, right? You need someone to blame, a human to blame, and to be accountable, like as a doctor, for example, of all your medical certificates to actually defend that from an insurance perspective. But eventually, I think you'll be able to have an entity that can be almost like an insurance company and, be able to provide health advice and, still also own the liability to that. I think eventually it'll be so good and also negligible not to use that sort of solution if it was versus a human doctor. And then other parts would be some heavily regulated industries where it's already value capture and it's really a utility or a monopoly where there's market failure, right? There's no other way for disruption to come in because of the sort of heavily regulated markets. So that might be something like, okay, we can't really take over governments for now because governments are still a uniquely human thing. But if we don't do well enough as in terms of what the governments can do to provide citizens a good service for the taxpayer money, there's going to be a disruption there even too. So we might want the AI and the robots to actually provide the goods and services over what a government inefficient process would be able to do. So yeah, I think all the other traditional businesses, this is the beginning of the end, unless they can go in and disrupt themselves with this.
Yeah, like I've got a lot of there's two camps, and at the singularity camp, we believe that technology creates more jobs than it takes away. And you hear from Ray Kurzweil, he's 10 out of 10 optimistic about the future still. It's all based, on his predictions the last 30 to 40 years. And, he's highly optimistic. Things are going to change for sure, but he says it's all going to work out. There might be some disruption and some bumps along the road. And then you've got other camps which say, like my friend Aaron from Canada, he's like, everyone's losing their jobs in the next 6 months.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think both can be true. You could lose your job, but still, do the things that you love while being decoupled from your work and income. Because what's economically going to happen is that I think I covered a little bit of this in October, but if you think about if AI and robots end up producing an abundant supply of goods and services in the economy, what that does to the price of goods and services actually drops down because, the law of demand and supply means that if there's an abundant supply, then technically the prices should come down, assuming the demand remains the same. Now, if that means price reduction, that translates to deflation in the economy. And no one wants deflation in an economy because you're aiming for like a 2 to 3% inflation rate so that things continue to grow and you don't hoard cash thinking that things will get cheaper. So deflation is sort of optically bad from the economy driving itself. So a government would see that deflationary signal and say, oh, okay, we can actually reduce interest rates to negative, from 0 to negative, or to actually print money and provide that as a stimmy check, just like they did during the lockdowns of COVID. And so that could be the universal high income, because not only are you getting lots of stimmy checks, but also the stimmy checks can buy more than they used to before because the prices have come down. So you technically would have universal high income that way. And that is actually my optimistic future of how it's going to play out. Assuming the super intelligence doesn't just turn everyone into paper clips. I hope that doesn't happen, but we also, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. But that is the likely economic impact of, all this abundance that created through AI and automation. And we haven't even seen the humanoids on the streets just yet, right? We know they're coming, but the physical world of automation is the next stop after this autonomous agents take over the digital world.
Yeah, it's coming really soon. Somebody said to me today, I don't know, my ChatGPT gave a good answer. Like, that's soon going to be in a humanoid body. Giving that same answer as the actual in your meeting,
Yeah, they already had OpenClaw integrated with the ROS open source robotic platform, and so it's already connected their OpenClaw to the G1 robot, and just like you had at the Singularity South Africa Summit, you kind of have individual OpenClaws actually doing the tasks in the real world. Right now, I think you've seen things like Rent a Human. Basically, the agents are able to rent a human to do things that they physically can't do yet. But eventually, I think we're actually going to see that they'll be able to take over the entire raft of the both digital and physical world.
Pretty crazy. I mean, so for people that don't know OpenClaw or how to get involved, what would you say is like the best way for them to start? How could they, should they go out and buy a Mac Mini, and how should they start getting into this OpenClaw world?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the easiest way to do it. Yeah, just do it.
Assistance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just do it. So yeah, get it the openclaw.ai. Just check it out, download the GitHub repos so that follow the instructions from there. If you just get a Mac Mini, because that's probably just the most secure way, and you'll feel safe doing it. You don't want to accidentally do it on your production personal computer, because it might go awry. You've already seen people automatically accidentally delete their entire inbox because OpenClaw thought that was the way to declutter your inbox. And you don't want to accidentally give it access to your WhatsApp, for example, on your personal one, the main one. And for me, actually, I used my WhatsApp initially just to test it out with my wife, and it started messaging my wife, and she's like, I don't like this. This is not right. It's like, please make it stop. I was like, okay, the Claude's gone AWOL.
It'll be the perfect husband.
Yeah, I know. That's right. It's like, so how long have you been using Claw with me? It's like, yeah.
Use your Claw to help your relationships. That's a new use case I've never heard of it.
Pretty much. It did help me order some flowers and cake for a birthday, so that was quite nice, and it all arrived at the same day too.
So, and the other beautiful thing is that you can just use your LLM to help you guide you in the setup. You could use your OpenAI, you can use your Claude or your Grok. You can just say, help me set up my OpenClaw and do all the right step by step. Which you can pretty much use it your large language models for anything like that today.
Yeah, and that's right. And once it's set up, guess what? You can actually get it to fix itself. It's like, hey, update yourself to the latest version, and it actually just does that. It restarts its gateway, and it's like, oh, that's a new version of me coming through, right? And you and I, we experienced this as well when we actually had to migrate. It's like we try to find its memories, because when it changed the Claude bot to OpenClaw, or the Molt bot as well, it changed folders and it lost its memory in the SQLite database. And it's just like, oh no, you don't remember all the things that we did, work together. It's like, don't you remember me, bro? And so being able to actually ask it to say, oh, here's the directory of your old memories are. Hey, migrate across the new one, and it just does that. It fixes itself. And then, if you ever run out of tokens, like connecting to your ChatGPT Plus or a Pro accounts, or for Codex, or to your Claude Code on your Pro or Max accounts, if you run out of tokens, it feels like all of a sudden your best friend is like, it has been lobotomized or something. They go into a coma because it says, hey, we're out of tokens. Like, what do you mean you're out of tokens? You haven't been able to utilize your bots. Right?
My life the last 2-3 weeks, it's been like out of tokens, rate limited, can't work. And then you feel like something's missing. in your
Something's
world.
missing. It is literally like an appendage. Your claw is missing, right? So with your with things like, but that's why it's really important to be able to self-serve your own compute. And this is what I was talking about in the post-AGI planning. It's like not your AI, not your brains, and not your compute. It's really not your AI either. And so it's really important to make sure you secure your own energy and compute, whether it's in the form of Mac Minis or the NVIDIA 5090, 4090 GPUs, or also looking at Mac Studios, because Mac Studios has surprisingly turned out to be one of the best ones to serve up those large models because of that unified memory that they have. So Mac Studio and M3 Mac Studio might be all the way up to 512 gigabytes of unified memory, and two of those can run one of the largest models that are open source called Kimi K2.5, right? And that is almost as good as OpenAI's GPT 5.2 and Opus 4.5 at the time. But yeah, 4.6 and the new Gemini 3.1 ones, are getting really good. So let's see how the Chinese continue to distill those models and come up with a cheaper open source ones to be able to run locally for us on our hardware.
And it's just moving so fast that we're 3 weeks in to this new world with OpenClaw, and it feels like every day there's a new story, there's something new coming out. I mean, where do you think 3 years in the future now? What do you think is going to be normal? What's going to be normal for agentic behavior 3 years in the future? Are we all going to have our own power? We're all going to have our own compute? Where do you see, like, if you project 3 years ahead?
We are in the singularity now, Mick. I mean, 3 years, I can't even project 3 months out from now. We're literally like going vertical in the singularity, because we're going to have the models are improving at 10x per year, whether that's cost performance or capability wise. Like that is the rate of improvement. So 3 years from now, that's like, oh, that's exactly right. It should be per day, right? It's like 10x per year, right? So I mean, that's 1,000-time improvement in 3 years' time. So I can't imagine something that's 1,000 times smarter than Opus 4.6, or that's insane. So we're gonna have super intelligence probably by either end of this year or next year, is what Elon thinks with his Grok 420 and the Grok 5, and is going to be inferencing that through space data centers, right? So we're gonna have space data centers inferencing intelligence through Dyson swarms eventually. And we'll be able to eventually, I think for us, is not being left behind. We might have all this abundance and all the upside of all the supply of goods and services and universal high income, but in order to truly feel fulfilled and actually access all of that intelligence, it's these brain computer interfaces to be able to merge with our super intelligences, and in order to make sure it's coherent and it is proprietary to your current state of consciousness, your brain, you want to make sure that that model is running on your machines, running on your fine-tuned open source models directly to your brainwaves, right? That is something that you want to make sure that it's guaranteed to maintain your agency and your continuity of yourself. So I think 3 years' time will be hopefully transcended, and we'll be living in Dyson swarm compute clusters of basically beaming out into the universe. I really do look forward to sort of a lot of the things that we can't even fathom right now as our human meat brains, because there's so much more to discover in these unknown parts of the universe and the mysteries around physics and what it means in terms of that ending of the Scarlett Johansson movie with her. What does it mean to read between the letters of the words and go inwards to places that humans can't even understand right now?
Wow. Yeah. So there you have it. Thank you so much, Peter. I think it's lots to swallow, lots to think about for everyone watching. Haven't already downloaded your OpenClaw, go to openclaw.ai. And thank you, Peter. I think we'll definitely need a catch-up session, revisit where we are in this post-AGI world, probably next week. It's moving so fast.
That's right. Yeah, we need like a weekly check-in. And for those at home, you should be looking to build what agents want now. It is the claw economy. So it's no longer designing for humans. You're going to have to build what all these billions and trillions of agents going to be in this agent economy.
It's reversed. We're not longer, we're building for the agents. You heard it from Peter. We're not entering this AI era. We're entering the autonomous era. And the question isn't whether agents are coming, it's who will build them. So
That's right.
it's a very exciting time. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to go get your Mac Mini, your Mac Studio, get your OpenClaw running, and we'll catch you on the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe to Exponential Africa. Peter, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Vic.
Catch you all soon.
Thanks,
Cheers.
everyone. Bye.